So you can kind of tell. I think this looks like a sunflower. Or maybe
I said marigold.
Yeah, something like that.
This
And,
is amazing. Go ahead.
yeah. And so I think about like the shoes and who might have worn them. We know that they're women, and that there are people who wore them a lot, so they wore them out really. And we also, I mean, these aren't like Sex and the City shoes. These are more department store shoes. So these are people who were working for a living, definitely. And he talked during his talk about he was raised by his mother and his grandmother, who both worked in other people's households to support him and his sister. And so he basically, I just sort of consider this a love letter to his mother and his grandmother. But when I looked at Harlem Rose, I thought, oh, maybe this is a jazz lyric. Maybe it has something to do with the Harlem Renaissance, or some sort of text from the Harlem Renaissance. And in fact, what I saw was a lot of entries on Google about the rates of rent in Harlem rising and forcing a lot of sort of these like working class folks out, because wealthy people are buying their houses, redoing them, and selling them to rich folks. So it made me think a lot about the work that took to make that neighborhood what it was, and how there's sort of some people are kind of being forced out just by this really hard work. So yeah, I mean he's amazing, and there are a lot of really cool conversations that you can have over this piece.
I was reading, they said that some of these people did like the Montgomery bus boycott, the one with Rosa Parks.
It definitely evokes that kind of thing. He ordered these shoes from a Goodwill, and he got tons of them. I think he got like 3 tons of shoes. He, made a deal with Goodwill, if you can imagine. And I don't think he's still on shoes. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting about my conversation with him is that he told me that he didn't think that his work is about race. And I thought that was a really interesting comment for me, to sort of like understand it through this, thought process of a lot of, different people living in this neighborhood, and really a rich neighborhood with a lot of people of color in it. He's like, no, that's not what I'm thinking about when I'm making this.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, that's kind of weird about it is that we have people from the Middle East and from Asia. I like your names.
Thank you.
And, as long as we're better. And seeing the bottom of people's shoes is really rude in Middle Eastern cultures and in some Asian cultures. And so why? It's just considered insulting. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember George Bush, like the shoe that this guy threw at him in the Middle East. George Bush was talking. Do you remember that? That was a total insult, not just because he was throwing a shoe at him, but because he was showing them the bottom of his shoe. It's just considered kind of like flipping someone off. So it's interesting to see different people come in and how they either really think it's cool, or they're like, why do you have old shoes here?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to butt out of your experience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm writing on this.
I figured you would like this one.
I recorded it.